Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here today going full bore nerd again. Now, do you have to dress up in historical costume to do historical stuff? No. But am I a fully grown adult nerd with disposable income? Yes, I am. And so we are gonna go big. In addition to all that, today, unfortunately, I don't have a cameraman to help me, so I'm gonna try and compensate by shooting from as many different angles as possible. Now, in the military institution of Rome, written by Vegetius, I mean, if you want perfect pronunciation, listen to this guy, because you're not going to get it here. About how soldiers were oftentimes more annoyed and afraid with stone projectiles than arrows, because the stones could kill without penetration or contusion, and it was a devastating impact to an armored opponent. So I have here Maximus, because we are giving Boromir a break. Honestly, you could be forgiven for thinking that all Romans always wore the Segmenta here. But in reality, it didn't come around until Augustus's time. And it was great because it was cheaper to produce, but it didn't handle as well in like harsh weather or conditions as opposed to other materials and other armor they had, especially the mail. It was lighter than the mail, but did provide great protection. So what I want to do here is show why the Romans were so afraid of a good slinger. To get into the fun, everyone, I have to, of course, thank this week's sponsor. This week's sponsor is all of you who follow along, comment, like, and engage on my stuff. Because in reality, this isn't something I thought I would be doing with my time as an adult. It was always a passion, it was always a hobby, never something I fully took seriously as something that I could do continually and share with people. So the sponsor this week is all of you for engaging and enabling me to go further down the nerd rabbit hole so that I can really dive in and have fun. So thank you, all of you, because you guys make it super fun. Now, back to breaking stuff. Today I have a few different slings here. This one here is a shepherd type sling. It's jute twine and it has a hammock in the back. The other sling I'm going to use as well is an oversized Balearic sling. So this is larger than most Balearic slings, and as such, I should be able to launch a heavier projectile well. So when the Balearic slingers went into battle, most of the time they had 3 different lengths of cord. They'd have one that was longer for longer range throws, because the more rotational energy you have, the further you can throw an object. They'd have middle range ones and shorter ones for when the battle got a little bit closer to home. So I want to try first with this one here, get a few shots in, and then I'm going to move to this one here and get a much larger stone and just see with that impact how that's going to handle with that armor. A little wide. Blocked by the scutum. So you may or may not be able to see well. I'll bring the camera up around in a second, but this part of the chest piece here just got completely concaved. I mean, the impact of that alone would definitely crack, shatter rib, cause some major issues to the body. That was a bigger stone, by the way, so it had a lot more mass behind it. But now I'm gonna do a little bit of slow-mo to kind of show you what it looks like, and I'll try to hit it a little lower here. Naturally, those shots are nothing short of absolutely terrifying. This one here, just completely, you can watch caved all of the plates over, and this one right here as well. Now I know many people are going to question the quality of the armor, etc., etc. I got this from Cultivatina for like 250 bucks, so it's not fantastic. I think it's 16 gauge steel. It's a mild steel, so it's not going to be upper echelon. It's not a historical replica. If you want a historical replica of everything to the T, check out this guy. So basically, this, even with the overlapping, because I've shot this with arrows a few times, as you can see here and here, but just that sheer force of that impact, even if it was a little bit of a thicker gauge, would rattle you to the bone. So when I think of Rome, I kind of think of it like the Borg, and that they basically assimilate the best weapons of many other cultures. To start, helmet. The later period helmet had a lot of designs from the Gauls, and so much of the helmet is derived from the ones that the Gauls used, and as opposed to, you know, what you would think in gladiator, so to speak. They were very well armed, they had good metallurgy skills, and so the Romans kind of adopted that as a way to improve over time. In the same way, the spada was derived from a Spanish sword, so they kind of copied that, as opposed to the gladius, which was much shorter. Spada was a little bit longer, great for cavalry and rushing in. It had a little bit more of a sweeping arc and a slashing motion. And again, this was something they kind of co-opted, let's say. And lastly, let's not forget about the shield. Now, it's not necessarily certain, and in my research I couldn't verify it, but it's believed that it came from an earlier Celtic design, and the Romans kind of improved upon that as well. So what do you think the Romans did when they came across the Balearic slingers? So it'd be safe to say they recognized their value right away. There were even writings of a Roman physician who was talking about the projectile of a lead shot or a stone shot and how it would need to be excised from the body. It would take a significantly larger incision to get out or excised, because basically what's happening is you have that larger projectile and you can't just pull it out like you would with an arrow if it wasn't barbed. You'd really have to get a large incision in there. So it was really something that if you were injured by it or wounded by it, it was a much harder thing to treat. Next up, let's call it my long range sling. Now, I'm not gonna do this super long range because I'm a decent slinger. I am not amazing. If I was 50 yards back, it would take me all day. But the good thing about this one being much heavier is I can throw much heavier projectiles. So I'm gonna be using some real heavy duty rocks with this thing to see how that holds up, and just to kind of see that impact force of a larger object, probably moving a little bit faster because I have a little bit more rotational energy to give to the sling. It's actually hard to hit with a longer sling from close range. Next shot. Oh my. he got smart and got behind his shield. That was amazing. He got hit, he's like, I'm down, and then you get behind the scutum and you're fine at that point. Realistically, this is probably where you should be if you're getting rock projectiles throwing at you. It's the reason you got a big shield like this is because it's pretty dang easy to get behind. So that let's take a look at what happened. All right, so that one was kind of hard to see, I think, but that hit right around here, it actually broke the strap, so it cut that strap right in there. And what happened was it just basically dropped the whole stand to go down. But what I want to do next is I really want to hit it from the side here, because the front part's a little bit of the weakest because the plates kind of have that gapping in between them and it folds, and that's that soft spot. But right here on the side, I want to see how that'll handle it. So I'm going to use the big sling again, and I want to use like a large rock just to kind of show maximum force impact of what that sling can do against like what I would consider to be the stronger part of the armor. My armor stand broke in the back here, so for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be picking on a very short legionary, and I'm going to still go for this side shot right here. So this is going to be like an up close slow-mo hit, and I want to see what it'll do right there. I think it'll be pretty cool. And that was actually kind of cool to see, to be honest, because one of them actually grazed off. You can see it hit here, and the metal kind of angled it a little bit so it wasn't able to make a good impact. The other one was a really square hit right in here, and even though we had the overlapping of the plates right there, you can still see it caved it in substantially. So I feel like if anything's going to be a strong point, it's right here. And even with that being that stronger point and the overlapping plates and that kind of armadillo protection, it still caved that in. And so that's still going to go and probably crack ribs and everything. It'd be better if I had like a ballistics dummy under this, of course, but maybe one day I'll get that. Not yet, but hopefully soon. After officially defeating Carthage in 123 in the Punic Wars, Rome then sailed to the Balearic Islands and Mallorca as well. In doing so, they basically went there to conquer it. So, what happened? Well, during the war, the Romans realized the value of these mercenary troops. They were really quite devastating to their numbers and formations and changed a lot of the way the battles went. So when they came with their ships to the island, what ended up happening was that they kept getting repelled by the slingers and their slings. They had a hard time getting close. What they decided on was they covered the top of the ships in the thick sheepskin and made it super taut. And in doing so, with basically making a trampoline. So the slings, which have no penetration power, so to speak of, were bouncing right off of it. So as you can see with these tests, a larger sling with a heavier projectile is devastating to metal armor. But it has that lack of penetration, which makes it difficult against soft armor, let's say to speak, if it's stretched out like those skins were. So, and basically, the Romans, when they stretched that out, they made it so it was a giant trampoline, and whenever they slung rocks at it, it wasn't enough to go through. Now, there's a couple anecdotal tales that they sunk boats and things like that, but wood especially, you need to be able to punch and penetrate through that, and there's accounts of lead shot going through some shields, but the planks on a wooden boat are far too thick, so I think that's obviously an exaggerated tale. But that was definitely something that just kind of shows that ingenuity of improvise, adapt, overcome. Upon realizing the value of the sling, Rome adapted and basically began to train all of the legionaries with it. So it became mandated that they worked with projectiles, javelins, the pilum, and the sling. They had it set up. I was trying to read about certain ways that they set that up, and it was about 178 yards where they usually were placing it, because it's saying a person may not be able to hit a target from 200, plus yards away, but anybody can hit an army. So really it was just a continual long throw, and train with it. And that was incorporated into all of their legionaries. And so it really gave them a little bit more adaptability. It would help as well. People would break off the side to kind of ferry them in a little bit to help a flank from outperforming. And it really just was a true testament to taking the best of what your enemies have, incorporating it to your own skill set, and basically mass producing it. They're not going to be as skilled as the Balearic slingers. They didn't train from youth as they did, but they were able to mass produce it, get high quality lead shot, which would travel farther and do more damage, and really just kind of make it into that war machine. And one of the coolest entries about slingers in Roman histories is in Livy's writings, where he talks about slingers that were brought from Algia and Petrea, I think it was, and basically says that they were trained from boyhood and were trained on the circumference rings. Now, I talked about that when I was in Greece as well, how they would actually train on the beach and they'd have different rings of circumference sizes on the beach, and they would have to thread it through those in order to train. And it states that they could not only hit the face, but they could hit any part of the face to inflict damage, which just really is a testament to the amount of skill that those people had in order to do that. I think that obviously in history things can be exaggerated, but I feel like that's not outside the realm of possibility for people trained on boyhood with just a rope and a rock. There's some of you who are going to watch this video and say, why destroy perfectly good armor that you can hang up in your home? Well, the reason being is A, there's no point in buying something fun if you don't get to play with it. And B, my birthday is actually coming up, my 15-year anniversary, and this was actually one of the first pieces of armor that I ever got from. So I'm going to basically get a better one that I'm not going to damage, because over the years I kind of get armor and then I break it and I get better quality armor that's like the finished, polished set armor that's gonna hang there proudly. Fear not, I will replace, repair, and make better. I just wanted to give this thing a proper send-off, so please join me as we send off the armor of Maximus.
We'll see you again. But not yet.
Helmet's still great. I'm not gonna hit that, that was expensive. If you guys want to do anything with this channel, honestly, just like and comment, because the long form video stuff is kind of funky, you know, I'm trying to go into that. I did shorts and that's all over the place, and I just wanna try and share the fun stuff that I have. So honestly, it's not like a Patreon call out, but just like and comment so I can kind of get that traction to get more people involved and engaged that like this sort of thing. And for everyone who always sticks around, comments on the videos, and I talk to, really appreciate it. It's what makes this fun. Just nerding out on the internet as a fully dressed man with a job and children, playing with toys in the backyard. It's ridiculous, but hey, it's fun. Whenever I do these videos, I get a lot of questions about a sling tutorial, where I get my slings. I have a video here which basically goes over all of that, how I use the sling, different sling styles, everything along those lines. And until next time, have a great week, guys and girls. Have a great week, guys and girls.